If you'll start by filling in that bio and maybe tell us a little bit about yourself personally as well.
Well, you did say what did you want to be when you were a child?
That was going to be a question.
And that was going to be your first question.
Let's start there then, if that's the personal stuff you want to start with.
No, I think I want to start there because I want to say that you should never dwell on the past and you need to focus on moving forward. So I was molested at 4. My dad bashed the shit out of me as a child with an iron bar and threw tractor spanners at me. By 17, I was close to a nervous breakdown, so I had no aspiration. I didn't want to live. My mum was an amazing cook. At 15, the Commonwealth Employment Service came out to speak on careers. So they talked about being a chef, and I thought, well, Mum's an amazing cook, I think I'm going to do that because you can make some money out of it. So I left the farm at 18, went to Melbourne, worked in a shoe polish factory, putting lids on Kenny Kiwi. My whole day's job there, I had to make the cardboard boxes for the shoe polish, and I could achieve that because I don't like repetition. So I could achieve making all my boxes in 50 minutes. That was the day's job. So then I went on to putting lids on tins because I was bored. So I didn't dwell on my past, and I moved forward. I got an apprenticeship and took it from there.
So what was the pathway from the shoe polish to the apprenticeship?
Well, the farm was up near Echuca. I needed to get an apprenticeship in Melbourne at some decent place. So I moved to Melbourne. So while I was looking for the job, I didn't want to burn my savings. I got a job at Kenny Kiwi, as we called it. And I only worked there for 3 months, but I'm still friends with a couple of the women I worked with.
So are you a country boy or a city boy?
Country boy. Grew up in the country.
So that was a pretty bold move for probably somebody that had their self-esteem knocked about pretty significantly by that age to choose a city.
Yeah, and living in, I think growing up frightened and always frightened of confrontation. I ended up going to a psychologist when I was 40 because I wanted to be able to forgive my dad before he died. And he died in September, and his last words were to me, I'm really sorry, I wasn't a very good father to you. And then he slipped away. But I never confronted him. I knew that I dealt with it myself. And yeah, just getting on.
Not to continue at the scab, but did you believe him in that moment?
Oh yeah, but he didn't need to say it because I'd moved on, and it's like, whatever. Like, I had the sound engineer in today because my twin brother left home at 17 and he joined the police force and went on to become head of homicide and secretary of the Police Association. And so we were playing Josh Groban, Bring Him Home, and Lucy goes, that's a lovely song. And I said, we were playing that as Dad died, and then Lucy, my EA, just started crying. And I went, oh, it was just fitting.
So in 1975, I read, you won Apprentice of the Year?
I won Apprentice of the Year for Victoria.
How old were you then? How long after you'd arrived?
God, 75, I was 20. I'm
So
63 now.
Years?
Oh, look, as I said something the other day, we were at a function, and I said, in my 45 years of cooking, and Brooke and Kylie have given me heaps ever since, and they said, I hope you're going to bring that up today in my 45 years. So, 1975, I won Apprentice of the Year for Victoria, knocked everyone off. All the apprentices from Mietas, Fanny's, Glows, Two Faces. I was working at the Copper Pot in Bendigo, so I'd gone from Melbourne back to the country, married at 75. I had, one child. Kylie was born in 75 when I was 19.
Yeah, right.
She's now 43.
Yeah.
So it inspired me because it was, trade school taught you to be a conformist, and it was meat and 3 veg. And I couldn't understand why you had to serve potatoes or a starch with every meal. And so I started doing different things. And then moving on, I made raspberry ravioli as a dessert, because why does pasta have to be savoury? So it was always pushing the envelope.
So how the hell did you go from winning the apprenticeship to, and I guess also having a young child at the time, to going, like, I'm going to get out of the kitchen and I need to grow and manage businesses for myself?
No, I'm still in the kitchen.
Well, I know that.
A bit.
We'll come to that.
No, well, if you go copper pot, so apprentice of the year, then I won 85, I won chef of the year for Australia for the Wine and Food Society. So that was living in Swan Hill and creating food out of local produce, so going picking nectarines, plums, making sorbets, ice creams, going out getting lamb, beef, pork from local farmers, getting it butchered. So it was about, you know, always using local stuff and pushing it. And I came back to Melbourne, worked for Cafe Alcaston, so doing all Holmes Courts, Packers, Murdoch's, Mitchell's, Gadsden, all of 99 Spring. It was the halcyon days of, you know, the hectic late 80s, mid 90s, and then the stock market crash. But the Holmes Court, the Packers, so we'd work Monday to Friday in the restaurant, so Alcaston was that time. But then we'd do boardroom catering, we'd do private events at Janet and Roberts, Hazel and Bob Hawke had come for dinner, or the Children's Television Foundation. You'd go up and cook for Packers up at their place. So it was about utilising your time during the day, creating stuff at night, and then going up and, you know, I'd go up and cook and waiter, because it'd be just Janet, Robert and the Hawks. So it was always heady discussions, and you know, they needed someone that wouldn't remember everything.
So you said you worked for, this is a question without notice, but you said you worked for Packers. Did you make Kerry?
Yeah, I did all of their private events out at like the Polo. So like going back then, Joe McKenna was a journo for The Age, and Joe was a friend of Beverly who owned Cafe Alcaston, and Beverly said, oh, my brother's short of a waiter for the Polo. And so Joe went out with me, and I said, it's Kerry Packer's event. And she said, who is he? And I went, you're a journalist, you should know. She came back the next day and she goes, oh my God. But he treated, he was more open to having guys waitering than women. He was a little bit chauvinistic. But no, we did probably 9 polo events. Went to their Christmas party in Sydney. Yeah, I've seen a lot. Some things I don't want to talk about. No,
It's obviously, I was going to ask, but I don't need to, about how did those awards influence the career? Obviously it gave you some exposure to some of those names that maybe
it just helped me step up the ladder and do different things. If you look, before I came back to Melbourne, Bendigo days, I'd opened a restaurant. I was 23. We toured with Peter Allen for a couple of weeks, Dick Emery, Cilla Black, Rolf Harris. Didn't tour with him, but that was a bizarre night. But I was young, and my wife would go. We went with Peter Allen. We did Ballarat, Geelong, Warrnambool, and then guests of honour at the Hilton with. It was when Darren Hinch was. Some of you are probably too young. Darren Hinch was married to Jackie Weaver, so that was our table. Darren and Jackie, Christopher Atkins and Brooke Shields. They were here doing Blue Lagoon. So it's 1980. It's a long time ago. I remember we left the Hilton and drove back to Bendigo at 6 a.m. and I started work at 9. And thinking about it now, I must have been well and truly over the limit. But no, back then, you know, the road toll, I was looking at it today in the paper and it's like, I think it's 65 compared to 82 last year. But back then it was 10.32 was the road toll for the year. So it's changed. So I'm pleased they've cut the drink drivers back.
So that's obviously some pretty amazing stories and stuff. There's a trajectory there that's quite incredible. Somewhere along the way, there's been a failure, I'm guessing.
Well, the restaurant I had in Bendigo, I nearly went broke. And
what year was this?
82,
Yep.
and that was because I'd be up all night. The restaurant we had a roller door at the front, and so you'd get Peter Allen in, and you'd pull the shutter down, and they'd leave at 6 a.m, 7 a.m. Rosemary Margan, she was weather girl for the older generation. The younger ones wouldn't have a clue. Her sister Michelle, so they were in for dinner, and Michelle rang me at 7 and she said, oh, it must be late. The paper boy gave us our papers as we were walking in with our crownies. So chain smoke, like, you know, I'd have John Singleton had come in for dinner with Graham Oborne. They were doing retirement villages, be up all night.
So you're saying your ego got ahead of you?
No, I think I was caught up in the party mode, drinking too much, chain smoking cigarettes, 75 a day.
Yeah.
Like I was up 20 hours.
Yeah.
Didn't take drugs, just drank alcohol, and then wake up call, it's like, you know, I really need to focus on customer service, wow factor, and what we're here for. There is more to life than just partying. So that was that era, and then, you know, when I grew artistic, which I'll probably get to, you know, Harry Connick Jr., Michael Jackson, Jack Johnson, Ben Harper, Carlos Santana, they're all people. I fed them, I looked after them, they're all great people, but I didn't get caught up in that party mode. They were as important to me as everyone is. So all of my customers are important, and so I learnt from that experience that not to dwell on society. You know, I did 2 celebrity weddings in New York, signed my big confidentiality agreement. I've never spoken their names ever, and I never will. I went to Mary and Freddie's engagement party. I did a heiress to the Soul family fortune in London. They were just people. It fitted into my time. I knocked Princess Di and Charles' event back at Gowings. They asked me would I go and do the event, and I went, no, I've got too much on, and my regular customers are far too important. So I really learnt from my mistake in Bendigo.
So we've just been talking about time management. Last week, I thought we caught up a week or 2 ago, and you'd just come out of the kitchen like your chef was away for a couple of days.
Yep.
You've literally gone up there and it's a shit fight, and you need to get things sorted again. How with one business, like I find it incredible, and I'm sure everybody here does too, find it incredibly difficult to manage time and choose things, and you're always questioning, prioritising time. How do you do that with 4 businesses and 4 teams?
If you get up,
decide when to walk into the kitchen versus when to be strategic.
So if you get up an hour early every day, you'll gain 15 days a month. If you get up 2 hours early, you've got an extra month. Get up 4 hours and you've got 2 months. So make use of every minute you've got. So my chef at Cranbourne out at Australian Gardens was getting married, and we had a new guy out there, and I thought, oh, rather than let him flounder, I'll go out and get in the kitchen for the weekend. Which I'm pleased I did, because I felt like Gordon Ramsay. Some of the cooking principles this new guy had were just wrong, and like he'd pre-cooked some fish in batter and popped it in the fridge, and so I just reheat it, and it's like, oh my God. He said, but you can buy it already battered and frozen. I said, well, that's what we don't do. We don't buy pre-done stuff, we make our own. So it was just a few little things, and I said, like, when you make muffins for the morning, pop them by the register, because it's cafe style out there, so people come up to the register to buy. So you can make your muffins and you keep them uncooked in the fridge, and every 30 minutes, they take 34 minutes to cook, every 30 minutes take another tray out, they'll smell and you'll sell. And he said, oh no, we don't sell many. And I said, oh, I'm going to prove you wrong. So that day we sold 3 dozen. And normally they're struggling to sell half a dozen because they're cold. So by having hot muffins and the aroma coming, and I learnt that at Cafe Alcaston, like the upstairs kitchen used to pump. They had the exhaust fan so that the air would extract, and so anything baked, the smell would go out onto the street and it would automatically bring people in every day.
So you, again, it's a very probably relevant question for a lot of business owners here. When you either take over a business or starting your business, you probably have a vision of the culture you want, and that culture is going to lead whether someone takes shortcuts and all those things. How do you implement that and actually get your team, like build your team to the, what's this?
That's how you implement it. It's a copy for you. No, it's our mission statement. It's everyone that comes into the business gets one. We go right through the book. It's about what I expect, think like a customer, you know, would I be happy with that? Being consistent, never run out of anything.
But it's one thing to have it in a document.
Yeah,
it's the second thing for people to live and breathe it when they work for it.
So everyone gets like a full-on training. So we literally go through that with them. So like as soon as they walk in, the interviews I do today, I will walk them in. I'll take them a walk around the building, and it doesn't matter if they're a waiter, a cleaner, or a chef. Chefs are never trained, which is kind of frightening, to go to trade school. You're never trained if the exhaust fan, if the filters catch fire, and that's why 90% of restaurants burn down, is they're cooking on the stove, the flame goes up, hits the filter catches fire, and it howls up the flue because it's got an exhaust fan. So everyone, I teach them where the switch is. I go, if you ever see a filter catch fire, flick those switches, pull the filter out, throw it on the floor, and then extinguish it with dry powder. And everyone is trained, because you look at Jean-Jacques, the baths, well, the baths was a fridge, but all of the Bayside ones that have burnt down have been exactly the same. Just the filters caught fire. I had a chef at Bamboo at Rye. He caught a filter on fire, and I went, what are you going to do? And he goes, I don't know. I turned the fan off, threw it on the floor. So went to Cranbourne, head chef out there. I hadn't gone through the process with him because the head chef I used to have had inducted him and didn't go through it. So I said to him, if the filter catches fire, what will you do? And he goes, oh, I'll ring 000. And I went, right. Okay, the place is gone. So it's really important to walk through OC health and safety, food principles, what you expect, first in, first out, rotate your stock, you know, make sure everything is fresh, use specials, create food, create wow factor. Like today, chef goes, I go, what's for seniors lunch? And he goes, oh, I thought calamari and chips. And I went, why would you do that? The oldies don't deserve to come in and just get chips. It's like, I'm old, I wouldn't eat chips. I said, you need to be inspirational. Like, you know, you've got barramundi, do it with a sesame and shallot crust and nampla, but make it exciting, don't be boring.
Yeah. So I guess that's internally, and the processes and procedures internally. How do you, and you've done this multiple times, how do you start a business, or how do you make it relevant in the community that you're in?
Right.
How do you make your business relevant?
So you look at what I've done at 360. So 360 lay empty for 3 years. It was an expensive exercise to do. Now, you can open the doors and hope someone's coming, but what we did was, I have 2 girls that do my social media, and we wrote, and I worked with a publicist in Sydney, and he was snow-based, but he has every travel writer on his database. So we created 5 stories, one on charity, one on functions and events, one on restaurants, one on background, and one on something else. So we had 5 different stories. So I had him, because if the stories come from me to a journalist, the journalist isn't going to take it. So if you pimp your stories out via a reputable person, and most journalists, you know, they'll write, but I think if you can give them good content, they'll just quickly tweak it and it's their own. So prior to opening, we'd had 20 full-page write-ups. all free of charge. You've got to be able to back it up with product. You have to be able to back it up with service. So I brought all of the staff back from the snow. So we came back on the 1st of October and we opened on the 7th. So we came back to an empty building, a shell. The furniture had arrived to be put together. We worked tirelessly Monday, Tuesday. By Wednesday lunchtime, all the ovens, everything was set up, everything was in, all the equipment was in, all the alcohol was in, we were ready to open. I brought the staff back from Falls Creek because we'd all worked together for winter. And so rather than open haphazardly, and I think going to places when they're new and the excuse like when we're having a couple of teething problems, I'm a customer, I don't want to hear that. I want to hear that, like when we're excited, we want to look after you. It's like, I don't want the excuses. So that's why I brought all the team back from Falls, and within a month, we trained up local staff so that when these guys went off to Canada skiing, we had a consistent heap of staff. So by creating the hype, knowing they had the service right, we opened. Opening day was Saturday. We did 100 for breakfast, 120 for lunch, and we had upstairs. We didn't open downstairs for dinner. We opened upstairs, and we had a Beatles cover band. We had 180 people on opening night. And then it's staying relevant. It's about not sitting back, resting on your laurels. We kept doing things, so we had different entertainment. Like now, if I look at tomorrow, Ron is speaking for lunch for the Sorrento set, speaking for tomorrow night. I listen to people saying like, Queenscliff population of 2,500, it dies when it cools down. There is no business. If you get off your bum and do something, I've created a day tomorrow that will pull in 30,000 bucks. So that's because I did something. I look along here today and 2 of the cafes are closed. No signs, not to say like we're not open. I think, what's a tourist gonna do? Like they come here, it's like, no one's open. And I only had one girl on this morning, I had to ring another one in because it's like, I didn't expect to be busy and it's like, oh God, they're all closed. We'll be hammered. So we did really well. But winter so it's about, I've got to make sure this is fired up for winter before I fire the snow up. So the snow, I've already got about 1,500 people booked. I've got 5 nights already booked out with different things, but it's about making sure I've got events up there and events here. So here we've got ABBA, we've got a progressive dinner, so about collaborating with other businesses. People are quite frightened to work with others. So I decided to do it for the Low Light Festival, I'd do a progressive dinner. So Lombardi's entree, here. It's a shocking name. It sounds like low life. It should have been winter solstice or, you know, Queenscliff comes alive in winter, but I've got Lombardi's doing an entree, Charlie Noble's doing an entree, we're doing one, a main, and then to Brew House. That will sell out, I believe, in the next week. And if it does, I'll do another one where they start here, go to 1902 to View Grand and then up the road. It's about working with other businesses and not working against them. I think, you know, too many people are frightened.
Yep. Do you have a mentor?
A mentor? Oh, I did do an action thing of business development, but that didn't go well in my brain.
Even Roger Federer probably has a tennis coach.
So I have a CFO who's an outsourced CFO, Peter Rankin. He was at Davidson's in Geelong, and Peter's an amazing guy. He'll send me an email. We work cloud-based, so I got Pete to come on board last June, end of June, because I decided I'm creative, I need someone on finance. I have an outsourced bookkeeping company. We are very automated now, so invoices from suppliers goes automatically to HubDoc, and HubDoc is, so it's Brighton, so each company's got a different address, so Brighton at App Hub Doc, and the invoices go into that and automatically into Xero. The accounts team ping and move it. So Xero is fine. But I realised that the bookkeeping company I'd taken on were just bookkeepers. They're just key punchers, and you really need to have someone a bit more savvy. I did have a Greek company that had done it for quite some time until the owner ripped off 38 grand out of the bank account. And I always said, I don't understand how that could happen, but being savvy, and I've always done a weekly profit and loss statement. Yeah, right. Always. So I've always got my little Excel spreadsheet, and I always keep a finger on the pulse, making sure wages are in line, and costs are in line. Like, everything's going up like super fast. I have a photographic memory for prices, so I know that my last butter invoice at Falls Creek was $96, and it's now gone to $153.44, which is a 37% rise. But if you weren't savvy, you wouldn't notice it. So that's how I picked up the 38 grand. She took it out with a shovel as opposed to taking it with teaspoons. Yes. If you're going to steal something, take it out in little bits. It's much easier to hide.
Do you have any goals left? What are you trying to achieve now?
Oh, what am I trying to achieve? I've always been driven on success, and so it was about picking up a white elephant, so to speak, and turning it into a dining destination and a successful business. So we're 18 months in. The second year, so 6 months in to our second year, we're 35% up on our first year. Our first year was dramatic, and we basically turned what I thought we would have turned in the second year. So my goals are just to keep it firing. My goal at the moment is to make sure that upstairs is utilised more, and just training and mentoring chefs. Dying breed, hard to get, advertise. Relevant ads. So I got an applicant today. I've read your advertisement. My skill sets are well suited to your business. I read the resume, cleaner at Bunnings. And it's like, there's nothing about cooking. It's like, yeah, not going to do it.
So you just said, you mentioned before, success, like I'm always striving for success. What does that even mean to you? What is success? It's like a really subjective thing. Well,
success, you look at that building. To be successful, you've got to be able to cover your costs. Yeah. It's about maintaining a product, a service level, and continually me personally, I'm just driven. I think I'm driven on. My success is to continue growing, and so I'm very figures driven. So I have to improve each year. So I've got the Australian Gardens at Cranbourne. We do weddings out there as opposed to weddings. They're a bit different. It's in a population, so you look at it, it's a population, the city of Casey is a population of 280,000, so basically Geelong's population. Demographics are more Corio driven than that. It's the growth out there. We have achieved $5,000 in the last 12 months. Your costs have gone up more than $5 grand. And it doesn't matter how much marketing, how much social media. If you do something for free, guaranteed the place is packed out. I'm not here to put shoes on caterpillars, I'm here to make a difference. I got off and I did my normal marketing, and it's about coming up with different ideas, and it goes for any business. Like, you've just got to come up with things. I'm not big on discounting because it will send you broke, but it's about add-on values. So Falls Creek, I decided that you have people coming in from skiing, so they've got kids. If you can do an early dinner and reward them for coming in, and so do like a $25 main course and kids meals, 2 course for 18 bucks, you've got the same staff on and you can turn it over. So the restaurant seats 80, and our busiest night we've done 240. I also give away free marshmallows. It's one thing I will give away because social media, I think, is super important.
Yeah.
And so the kids get the marshmallow on a complimentary stick and they go up to the fire, toast their marshmallows, mum and dad Facebook it and Instagram it. 48 bucks a week, the best money you could spend. So taking it from $160,000 to $1 million turnover for the same time. And I've done that in 4 years. It's also looking at your product. So we started off with like doing tappers and a lot of work for very little reward. So second year in, it's like tappers have gone, too much work, too many staff to do it, and wrong product mix. People are actually skiing, they're hungry, they actually want a good feed, and so we do a similar menu to here, so then I can cross-train staff. So at the moment I've got 2 chefs here working to go to Falls Creek, so we'll just get them trained up, and then they will come back here for summer. So great lifestyle, a month off in October and back for summer. So product mix, done. So I think that was probably the best thing I did at Falls. Doing charity work, so long life.
You don't like to talk much about that side of yourself?
The charity work?
Yeah.
Oh, look, I've done charity work. So look at Heston Blumenthal, coming to Melbourne, opening Heston's. I'd put into my computer an alarm for when the ballot opened for Heston's, and it was 525 bucks a seat. So I was in Luang Prabang teaching English to kids that couldn't afford to go to school. My alarm went off at 5 a.m, which was 9 a.m. Melbourne time. Got out of bed, logged on, put in the ballot for 4 seats, and then thought, I can't believe I did that. Like, I could educate 12 kids for a year in university, because I put a kid through university in '99 over there, bought him a block of land. He's now married, got 2 kids, built a house. He's put his 4 brothers through school. So I was out there doing that. And I started to think about, and I Facebooked it and went, can't believe I did that. You know, $2,100, I could make a difference. The charity side, I mean, if you look at what I have achieved in charity side, it's about giving back, and too mmany people don't want to give back. You know, I went to Echuca to the chaplaincy committee, and one of the big fundraisers is, so at Skinny Dark, Heston had a table of 2, and that auction, so he came.
Oh, shit.
So we got Heston there, but he put up a table of 2, and David Harris bought it for 4,800, and then I put myself up for auction to do dinner for 10, and it sold for nearly 6,000. And so I went to someone's house, cooked for 10, but a lady came up and said, oh, I really wanted to buy it, but I got outbid. Would you do another one? And, oh yeah. So she paid 6. So it was just, so then I went to Echuca and did one, and I felt like I'd been sold at Kmart bargain basement for $400. And it was a religious group, so, because I grew up, like, Dad was a lay preacher, which, that was the other thing that frustrated me about being a child. Like, you know, so they had Passiona instead of wine. And it's like, how can you match Passiona with a steak? It's like, maybe Portello would have gone all right.
So I put these questions together a couple of weeks ago, and obviously, you know, there's been a few things that have popped up, particularly about your childhood. And when I read this question again that I'm about to ask you, I actually got goosebumps. But the question was, if you had the opportunity to speak to a 10-year-old Barry, what advice would you give him?
Oh my God. Far out. Oh yeah, no, I think I would not, I couldn't dwell on like being a little tacker. I think it's about finding something to focus, and it doesn't matter whether you're 10 or 20. It's about finding a purpose in life, finding something to focus on, and going for it. Brother's book's got a couple of statements on the back, but I think failure is, worrying about failure is, forget about that, it's about trying. So fear of failure is lack of trying. So I think you've got to always focus on going forward, and have a goal, and do have 5 years in front of you. So as a 10-year-old, put away the Xbox, put away the Facebook. Interesting, Francis Carello wrote a book, The Pomodoro Technique. And the Pomodoro Technique is probably something every one of you need to adopt. We're also caught up with social media, emails. So your computer will ping and there'll be an email, and you'll stop doing what you're doing and you'll go and read it. Carello's book is, and because Mr. Reader, well, I'll tell you another way to save time. So Francis Carello's book, it's about focusing for 25 minutes. So at university, he was mucking around on Facebook, checking his emails. He had a tomato egg timer for 25 minutes. So he'd put it on for 25 minutes, no emails, no Facebook, focus, do 25 minutes solid, 5-minute break, 25 minutes, 5 minutes. He found that by doing that, he got all of his assignments, everything done. And I think that's fantastic. I don't have time to read, so what I do is I use an app called Blinkist. So Blinkist summarises a book in 10 blinks. So, the subtle art of not giving a fuck, it says fuck too many times. And for me, who uses it like yes and no, it was offensive, and it drove me mental. And so I blinked it, and it cut out all of those words, and it just gave you 10 blinks, and it's like, yep, simple.
Yeah, cool.
The other app you need is CC, Camcard, which is take a photo of business cards, it stores it into your memory. On the other books that I like are The Present by Spencer Johnson, which is to focus on now. Don't dwell on the past, you can't change it. And don't freak out about the future, it's about making sure you've got a plan. And I think his other one, Who Moved My Cheese, is quite relevant. And it's such a good motivational book. Everyone goes to work and they get so caught up in the day-to-day running, and they forget to look that the world is changing. So, I'm 63, I use the internet. When I first used a computer, I took over the food court at Sports School from Peter Rowlands as another part of my life. And computer, and I'd never used a computer, and it's like early 90s. And it's like, I can't understand how a computer could save you time. Now, everything's like, we did a royal family gig out of Amsterdam 8 years ago. Everything was organised by email. The international events, the hire equipment, the venues, all sourced from the internet. So, you've got to stay abreast with what's happening. Same with, my apps, HubDoc, Xero. Yep. I mean, we've moved away from my old hard drive.
Got a couple of quick questions for you, then might chuck it out to the audience. I'm guessing we're running close to time.
Oh.
Finish this sentence. The most important thing in business is?
Customer and health. Now, one of the things in here...
I knew you wouldn't be able to do that anymore.
No. Well, Peter Rankin, my CFO, will send me... His first email was about that long. I emailed him back and I went, I'm high D, 3 bullet points. So if anyone's studied Marsden, Myers-Briggs, I am direct entrepreneurial. Come across rude, maybe blunt. Margaret Carnegie, Sir Roderick's mother, said to me one day, and I think it was quite relevant, don't waste your words. You've only got so many in your life. So just get your bullet points right. So Peter Rankin now will send me 3, and if he wants any more information, he'll send another 3 bullet points. But yeah, so I couldn't do it in one.
That's fantastic. Finish this sentence, the final question. The most important thing in life is?
Your health. I think
No?
Is that different for you? What did you want me to say? I think your health, I mean, you know, if you're healthy, if you can look after yourself, and I, as a restaurateur, I'm probably one of the worst eaters. I'm a bit podgy in the gut at the moment. I am about to go back on my cleansing diet, but I think your health is super important. You know, as a child, I had a thyroglossal cyst. If you look at photos in Ron's book, you'll see I was about that much shorter than him all my life. At 17, I think I grew 6 inches. I'm now probably an inch taller. But I think, yeah, your health is super important. And you need to focus on keeping yourself fit. I'm not a good carbohydrate person.
Please thank Barry.